Excellent. So my third segment, just have a quick look and see how I'm doing for time, probably slightly behind, um, covers the grant offer letter and the claims element of the process. So once you've been notified that you've been successful in your application, we'll then issue a grant offer letter, a grant agreement to you during August. Now, this includes the key terms and conditions that govern your grant. It will set out the details of eligible expenditure, your key dates. So this will include claim dates, latest dates, and start dates. It will include the requirements that we set on you. So it will detail what evidence you need to provide, the records that you need to keep. And it will also include a copy of the claim form. So that's the form that you would submit to us along with your evidence to draw down the grant. The team will look to run through this with you on a call, so we won't just send it out and hope that everything makes sense. We'll actually go through it with each successful applicant. And when it is formally issued, and it will be issued through Adobe Sign, it does need to be signed and returned within 14 days. And my last bullet point there is say, remember summer holidays. We're expecting, or we will be doing this during August. We're therefore expecting that there will be people who go away. If you're going to be away during August, please let us know. So we can either have an alternative contact to whom we send the grant offer letter, assuming that they are in a position to sign it on behalf of the business. Failing that, we will look to issue the offer letter to fit around your holidays. What we don't want to do is issue the grant offer letter to somebody on the first day of their 2.5-week holiday and it expires before they've come back. We don't want to do that, so please let us know, and then we'll work with you to make sure that you have the opportunity to accept the grant. In terms of the claims, it's important to remember that grants are paid in arrears. This comes back to the cash flow point that have been mentioned in previous segments of the webinar. You do need to think about how you will cash flow the project, and think about how it will work as you're pulling together your application. We cannot pay the grant in advance of need, and we do require that the expenditure has been defrayed. So what that means is that it must have left your bank account. So you can use credit cards to pay for things, that's perfectly acceptable, but those credit cards must have been paid off from your bank account, from your business bank account, to at least the value of whatever it is you're claiming from us. If it's just been paid on a credit card and that credit card has not been paid off, then you as a business have not incurred that expenditure. Your credit card provider has incurred that expenditure. So it's crucial that the money has been defrayed. Because we require evidence, an audit trail to demonstrate this has all happened, please don't make cash payments. So there is no evidence of defrayal in a cash payment. And please don't use contra arrangements. So what they mean by that, or what I mean by that, is if you have a refund sitting on your trade account with a supplier, please don't use that refund to pay for part of your CBAF activity, because the evidence critically will be a copy of the bank statement. And if you've used a reimbursement on a trade account, the copy of your bank statement, the amount you actually pay out in respect of that invoice, is not going to match the total of the costs incurred. We will only be able to reimburse the value that you have defrayed, that you've paid out. In terms of submitting a grant claim, up to 2 claims are possible. You need to agree this with the team. The latest date for a claim is the 31st of January 2023, which we mentioned a couple of times. It's critical to note that claims submitted after that date will not be processed or paid. Okay, so you must get the claims in on or before the 31st of January at the very latest. Clearly, we would prefer the claims to come in advance of the latest date, and that will make payment quicker and easier for us. Be aware it can take up to 30 days from receipt of a correct claim, although we will aim to pay claims much quicker than that. You'll need to email the claims and the evidence to the team on or before the claims deadline, certainly before 31st of January, on or before 31st of January 2023. And please contact the team in advance if you think you have any issues or questions about submitting your claim. So what do you need to submit? The grant claim form, clearly, fully completed. So please fill the entirety of the claim form out. Copies of invoice evidence, copies of defrayal, so that's bank statements. By all means, redact bank statements. Please don't redact out anything critical that we need to see, like the date of the specific payment, the payee, and the value of that payment. Those are critical elements for us. If you've used a credit card, we'd also need a copy of the credit card statement. And if you are using salary costs as part of your contribution, your match, we would need to see timesheets and hourly rate calculations to validate those costs. So as I say, these can be redacted where appropriate. So what happens next? Once submitted, they go through a claims checking process. If we have any queries, if there's anything missing, the claim will be sent back with the queries and you will resubmit it. The 30-day clock that I mentioned earlier starts on the point that we receive a complete claim. So if the claim is through and something's missing, we send it back to you and you spend, I don't know, 10 days filling the gap and send it back to us. It doesn't mean the claim gets paid within 20 days from that point. It's 30 days from that point, assuming the claim is correct. Once checked, the claims are then approved internally. There's then a reviewing and sample checking process. They're then authorized, they then get paid. Feels like quite a lot of steps in the process, but this back end element is actually quite quick. It slows down where we have a bulk of claims coming in at the same time. So as I said before, our preference is for claims to be staggered and not all coming in on the 31st of January next year. Key points to note from the process: as I said, only complete claims can be approved. If it's incomplete, it will be returned to you. Please remember to submit your grant claim. It does still, after all these years, surprise me the number of grant recipients who don't claim. They've spent the money, they've delivered the project, they just don't get round to claiming it back. Please submit the claim. As Julian said earlier, it's fairly simple to do once you've got all your ducks in a row. The grant claims can only be made against the approved project. So the grant agreement, the offer letter, sets out the details of what you're going to be claiming and what you can claim against. And that's what needs to go in the grant claims. If you try to claim against something different, the grant claim will be sent back to you with queries. It's crucial to note that the grant awards are not an allocation to the business. They are specifically linked to the approved project. So it's not that you've been awarded a pot of money that you could spend on this project, but you could also spend on something else. It relates to the approved project. If that project is not going to happen, then there is no grant. So if you don't deliver the grant project, you don't receive the grant. It's not an allocation to the business. We do, however, understand that things change. So please contact us. Please flag any under or overspends as early as possible in the process. The earlier you let us know about any under or overspends or issues that you're facing, the more we can do to help you through the process. Any questions?
And there was a question, but you've covered it, James, so we can move straight on to the last section.